Oh. Hi, everybody. We are Third Derivative, and this is our Lab 5 demo. We wanted to first run through our documentation at a high level, but if you want to read this into more detail, it is submitted to Coursistent. Um, so we read through the Lab 5 prompt. We felt it was really similar to stuff that we had done in Lab 2. But we also realized that this lab wasn't just about scraping, it was also about clustering and building a meaningful data set. Um, we did run into two big challenges, one being that Reddit doesn't provide infinite access via its API, and also a lot of posts contain things like images and memes in the advertisement. So we did have to consider those things when making our scraper code and also when working on the rest of our project. So we ended up having to use PRAW, which stands for the Python Reddit API wrapper. We did try using push shift and scraping old Reddit directly at first, but one of the biggest problems we ran into were a bunch of 400 level errors. Um, we also just felt that using push shift in general wasn't effective because it kind of has become unreliable in the past couple of years due to Reddit's API changes. Um, Using PRAW was a better approach for us because it did make sure that we had consistent access to the Reddit API. And it also helped us make sure we had cleaner data and it provided support for detecting post hints. And we also had to consider handling images with OCR. So one of the problems we kind of ran into was that some of these subreddits had images without meaningful titles. So we had to use OCR and Tesseract to analyze those images and figure out what they were. Um, so our scraper workflow at a high level basically was detecting if the post had the image, downloading that image, running OCR on it, and then storing that OCR text in a column in our MySQL database. Um, On that note, our MySQL database did have the following table schema. Essentially, we stored the Reddit post ID, the primary key, the title as a string, the author, which we did mask out for privacy because one of the big things about Reddit is that you're basically posting to an anonymous platform. Um, we included the link, the score, the number of comments, when the post was created with timestamps, what subreddit it came from, the self text and the OCR text. One thing that we did run into were those 400 level errors, and also we noticed that it was hard to get 5,000 posts from a singular subreddit. So after talking to Dr. Cho, after class, we did decide that we had to pull from multiple subreddits to get about like that 5,000 post minimum that was um, recommended in the documentation or in the instructions. Um, so in our case, we did decide to stick to one theme, and this had to do with computers and tech and things like that, and job searching and things like that. And so this kind of made sure that we had volume and it also gave us like diverse perspectives in that whole tech and job searching domain, which would help make clustering more meaningful. Another thing that we did talk about was using hard clustering versus soft clustering. We ended up using k-means clustering in our approach. And just to go over, we did see some limitations, such as the Reddit API limits, some OCR noise when we were running OCR, imbalanced subreddit sizes. Some subreddits were bigger than others, and also the database schema drift, like adding new fields. And we had to alter the table mid-project. And obviously, in the future, we do hope to have better NLP processing. We hope to improve just what we have right now when it comes to like automation and also like image text fusion and things like that. I'll let my team members expand on that on their turn. But before I go, I did want to run through our scraper code at a high level. So here we just listed out the subreddits that we wanted to work with. The cool thing about our code is that it actually does set up the database if it's not already on your system. And essentially, the other big things that we did were create helper functions, which did things like clean the text, mask username, get those details like the image URL and keywords. Um, we also had a helper function to help us with OCR, um, to help scrape the subreddit. And then at the end, the cool thing about our code is that once you hit the 5,000 posts, it does stop, so you're not continually scraping Reddit for more than what you need. Um, and then we saved all of this into a MySQL table. With that being said, I'm going to give the floor to Nirali. And yeah, thank you. Oh, Nirali, you're unmuted, or you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Okay, could you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
So I'll just share my screen. Yeah, so now I'll go through our code that helped create clusters. Okay, so after we scrape the Reddit post from each subreddit into the database, so now we had to do some text processing because we needed to remove the HTML tags that were present. Also, if any special characters were present, any emojis were present. So we just removed those. And also we tried to encrypt the user name of each Reddit post for privacy. And then we removed any white spaces. And then we just applied some NLP techniques such as tokenization, stemming, and lemmatization. So basically, tokenization is where we split a sentence into tokens, that is, individual words. And then stemming is removing the prefixes or suffixes of a word. So, like running will become run. And then lemmatization tries to bring the word to its base form. So, like, better will turn into good. So, this just helps us, better
Yeah.
process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had
No,
something to say?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. A couple of notes on that. First of all, we don't use the average case throw up real quick. First of all,
Oh,
we don't yeah, sorry. First of all, we don't use a normal tokenizer. We ended up using the tweet tokenizer, like even though it's specifically made for Twitter. The main reason is because when we checked out Twitter files, like Twitter posts and Reddit posts, they shared a similar uh like the lengthening of repeated characters. So you see this, so with a lot of O's and this is so, and there are a lot of other slang and characters that are updated within NLTK. Yeah, NLTK. So that's one thing. The second thing is we kind of had to add stop words. We don't know why. We like this. This is something we haven't figured out yet. But for example, if case runner, thank you. So if we don't update like these stop words with like words like would, could, should, then they would like overwhelm the output clusters for some reason. Yeah, those are the two things we're not sure about this. You can continue. Sorry.
so yeah, we added these extra words into the stop words to get it removed because we were noticing when we were seeing the keywords that are present in each cluster that these would appear. And so after using the library NTLK to do all of this, um, now that we have the keywords for each post, now we're going to embed all the keywords. And what we used, let me just take you there. We used the TF IDF method, embedding method. And basically, that's the term frequency inverse document frequency vectorizer. So basically, how it works is so term frequency is how frequent a word appears in a certain document. And inverse document frequency basically states how frequent a word appears in multiple documents. And so basically, an importance of a word will be if it has a high term frequency, but a high inverse document frequency. That means it should appear a lot in one document, but it shouldn't appear in all documents. And that basically states the importance of the word. And that gives you a certain numerical value, which will be the value in the vector for that particular word. And that's how the embedding works. And so basically we use that embedding to embed the keywords for each post. And now that we have the embedded vector for each post, now we could conduct clustering using k-means. And yeah, and we thought about it that for our data that we're using, it's based on like post from like CS majors, internships, jobs. So we thought that maximum 4 clusters would be appropriate. Um, so when we go to the demo where I'll be inputting what value of number of clusters we'll input 4. And yeah, Steve, you want to add on to anything of it? Yeah.
Um, Currently for this version, there was not a lot. I don't think. Can you throw down? Oh yeah, I think a couple notes that were really interesting during the whole process. First of all, for some reason, Cython only accepts. So, let me pull up the exact reason.
Yeah.
It's super
You want me
awkward.
to stop sharing?
No, you can say
Okay.
sharing. It's fine. First of all, so apparently scikit-learn only accepts float 64s. I don't know why float 32s are not accepted. I don't know if it would have affected anything, but we ended up having to change everything to float 64, which ended up making the code work. And two, yeah, there might not be a two actually, because we fixed them before. Can you scroll down? Oh yeah, we ended up using UMap. I'm not particularly sure how it works. The results seem good
You're talking
though.
about SVD, right?
Yeah, UMap. Like yeah.
You reduce
Oh
the dimension.
oh yeah. Okay, yeah. See, I'm
Yeah.
getting a bit silly. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, yeah. That's where we ended up using SVD, right?
Yeah. So,
After the UMap, but initially we only considered the normal one. So we ended
yeah.
up using UMap and then we added yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah. And we use SVD because we knew that like there were so many, the matrix is really big after embedding because it's like all the words present in all the Reddit posts. So to decrease the dimension, we use SVD, and it gave us better results. Yeah.
hmm Yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I believe. That
Yeah.
should be all. Yeah. Oh
And it,
yeah, you might want
yeah,
to run the code. Sorry.
yeah, I'll just now give a demo.
Mhm.
Let's go back. Okay. First, I'll train it.
One small note, we already have the post from the database. I think it takes an
Yeah,
awkward, yeah.
we already ran the Reddit scraper because it took around half an hour, I
I know,
think.
yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to know it, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise it's like, why do you have 5,382 posts, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a fair question, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm. Okay, so I guess it has trained and it has embedded all the posts. Now let us run the clustering k-means. Let me just see. Okay, and as I had said, we will say we want 4 clusters. Okay, so now the clusters are formed. And I'll show you how the clusters look on the plot. Actually, should I show it now? Very good. Or wait, so now I'll just show the other functionalities our project has, then I'll show you the plot. So now, let's see the keywords of each cluster. Now the keywords for each cluster is saved in cluster analysis.csv. And now we also added the functionality of real-time scraping of new posts that come. So let me paste that. And we input, like we gave the input of 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes, it will, add any new post that has come in any of the subreddits and add it to the clusters. So in the last 5 minutes, there hasn't been any new post, and we could stop this real-time processing with Control C, which I'll just do now. But yeah, we could see it's working. Yeah. So it has stopped. And one other thing our project could do is take any external message and see if it belongs in any of the clusters. So, let's see. So yeah, so with this classify parameter, so we're just going to see this input, best way to learn machine learning, in which cluster it would be put in. Yeah, so it gives us, okay, so it's putting it in cluster 3 as it, found out the top 5 similar posts, uh, which all mostly they were in cluster 3. So yes, these are the functionalities, and I'll just now show you how our plot looks like. Is it this one? Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah. So I think we could see for,
Yeah, a couple things to note. First of all, like you can definitely see the differences, but I think part of the
yeah.
issue is that you see some very like far and errors, sorry, outliers here. If we removed that, it probably would have been better, but this is a time constraint issue, so we didn't focus on that.
Yeah.
And yeah, even then you could see some separation. Like it's not
Yeah.
great, but
Yeah. You could see like the yellow, the purple, the bluish, and the green. And now I'll just go into the keywords. Yeah, so these are the keywords for the 4 clusters. So each cluster we could see gives a kind of idea of what post when in each. So the first one is about like intern interviews and that are technical. It's about that. And then the second one is about jobs and yeah, the companies and jobs. And the third one is more about, you could see again, is so there's a bit overlap as we could see in the plot. So again, there's jobs and career, but there's also degree. And in the third one, there's about like internship and experience and yeah, resumes and Python. Yeah. So I think, yeah, these are the 4 keywords from the 4 clusters that we got. I know there's some overlap in the 4 of them, but it's because all these topics are overlapping in themselves. Like, but yeah, it could like we could improve it
e
further.
I mean, even then, you can still. I I think the cool part though is like seeing the differences that are even within like these very intimate like subjects because we
Yeah.
intentionally chose like really similar. It's not that similar, but we intentionally chose Reddit subreddits, Jesus,
Mhm.
subreddits that intentionally cover the same subject because we want to see if there even then if there are differences. And as you can see, there are differences.
Mhm.
Like between one and two, like one is more so about jobs in general and just like getting to like getting started essentially. Whereas
Mhm.
zero is much more about getting into interviews, how
Mhm.
to, ace them, how to get prepared. Yeah, but
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I would say this is something really proud of.
Yeah.
Just want to point
Yeah,
that
for
out.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah,
Um,
that's it.
I think one last thing I kind of have
Yeah.
to note. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I'll stop.
Yeah. The one last thing I want to note is that we actually had Lab 2 in some version of Lab 2. The few changes that you will probably not see in the main Git, and I will explain why. First of all, we just added a config. This is actually really cool because I ended up figuring out how to use a Reddit app, except this is the first reason why we didn't post it. I got API errors all over the place. So Reddit applications for some reason doesn't work. So we actually have to use like the direct prod approach, but we tested a lot, it didn't work. Most of our stuff is similar. We ended up including fetch posts like we try to combine Reddit scraper and this version, and you probably already see a snippet of it in a real-time update. We just have the Reddit scraper run because first of all it's easier to do so, and secondly you don't have to wait half an hour. Um, Otherwise most of it is similar. You would see we try to use word topic. Most of our other stuff is really similar. Just call it scraper, processor, clustering engines. Um, yeah, there's not a lot, and at the end of the day we tried to combine them to something that you can call from just one line. The main reason why this is not posted, there are two reasons for it. First of all, like I said, there are a lot of issues with this. Where topic didn't end up running. There are a few bugs here and there. The same issues with float 32s and float 64s still persist, even though they're not like they're probably underlying somewhere here, but I didn't manage to figure it out. And two, even when it's the first version, we spend a lot of time and effort trying to I'd say master it. Master wouldn't be the right word. Like make it make it as foolproof as okay, that's not even the right word either. Basically make it as good as possible. Um and we also spend a bit of time trying to read between the subreddits to see if we could separate them because the initial results were not that positive. Um, but it got much better, and now you can see like the separations clearly. Like I said, there's still a lot to improve on. We should, remove the outliers. We should tweak a lot more things, and this is also why we didn't, improve V2 anymore. Um, yeah, but this is why this is why we ended up using V1, and this is why V1, looks so good. So there you go. That's just extra notes that you can ignore this. This is my other project. But yeah, that's a that's probably what we could have gone if we had, an extra week. That's
Mhm.
just extra notes.
Mhm.
Otherwise, yeah, week one will be our final sorry, the first version will be our final submission. Yep.
Great. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much.
All
Yeah,
right,
thank
thank
you.
you.